Welcome to Believers Talk, and we are giving you a recap in this episode of the game that just happened yesterday between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Buffalo Bills. A game that a lot of Bills fans aren't happy about as the Bills lose their home opener 31-20. But first, if you guys are new to the channel, hi, my name is Joe. Welcome to Believers Talk. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. There's a notification bell around here too somewhere. You want to hit that because we will be going live for commentary, play-by-play, and live reaction during the Bills games. If you have already subscribed, you've been with me for weeks 1 and 2. We've appreciated it. We've had a good time as the Bills have dropped to 0-2, of course, but we've still had a good time on this chat, and that's kind of what I want to do here. Give a live play-by-play for those either A, who can't see the games, or B, who can see the games and the announcers annoy them and they want to talk Bills talk with other Bills fans. And we also have fans here from the other team, too. Yesterday we had a few Chargers fans in here, so it was nice to have them in here. And we were just going a little back and forth, so it was a good time. So, but we need to get on here day after game, always giving you that post-game recap, trying to get you guys situated and kind of give us a day to get our minds right, guys? Give us a day to kind of swallow the loss at this point from yesterday, but then also kind of re-examine what went good, what went bad. A lot of improvement in this game from the first game. I wanted to give myself about 24 hours or so to get over how mad I was after the game yesterday. It didn't work. And you'll see that throughout this episode. I will be very fiery about certain issues that happened over the past 24 to 27 hours. And you know, to cover a couple of things that we're going to cover in this episode, we're going to go over the LaShawn McCoy injury. We're going to go over the Vontae Davis situation. We're going over the Tyron Jones hit in the back of the end zone. And that's not to go over just the game itself, where the San Diego Chargers beat the Buffalo Bills, again, by a score of 31-20. But again, the difference between first game and second game is huge, actually. I thought we did, and especially first half to second half in this game, we saw a vast improvement. For all the critics out there saying how terrible the Bills look and how awful we are and how, look, we have a guy retiring in that half and that's how bad we are, shut up, because it's not that bad. And this is why this channel and other Bills media channels have started, and for other teams even, because, you know, media only sees what they want to see. You know, you need someone to examine the whole game. They only see bits and pieces, which, you know, some of us would say it's not their fault. They have to watch every single game. It's hard to analyze every single game. But if you're not analyzing every single game, then don't talk about it. Don't talk about it like you know what happened, because you don't know what happened. We watched the game together yesterday. We know what happened. The Bills, yes, we lost. But we were starting a rookie quarterback. It was his first start. And he did just fine. He had 2 interceptions. He made 2 bad choices. Yes, I'm not going to say anything other than that. They were bad decisions. One, he has Ingram wrapped around his waist. He cannot get his leg into it, you know, step into his throw. And if he looks, and he did this a bunch yesterday, I'm not letting him get off the hook. If he looks, he has Kelvin Benjamin wide open a lot earlier, prior to Ingram being wrapped around his waist. I mean, there are situations in that game where if you watch a replay, Allen has open receivers and he's either A, not looking the way, or B, he doesn't see them in time. So we need to get that corrected, okay? And you know what? These are things that rookies go through. These are growing pains that all rookies go through, and it's no different with Josh Allen. But, I mean, think about that 62-yard bomb to Zay Jones right before half, I believe it was. You know, that was so pretty. That was all in the air, too. It wasn't like Zay Jones made something happen after the catch. In fact, Zay Jones bobbled the ball and almost dropped it. So let's go through some stats quick here, guys. We'll start with the stats. And one of the first stats that sticks out to most analysts and most people watch this game would be Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers went 23 for 27 for 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, you know, this is his, I think that they said this is his second highest completion percentage of his career. So, you know, that's obviously not good, but I still say we saw improvement on that defense, guys. I mean, compared from the first quarter where we allowed 28 points, or first half where we allowed 28 points. In fact, I think in the first quarter we allowed 21 of those 28 points. To the second half, we allowed 3 points. And it wasn't like, I know the Bills were constantly coming back, but you look at that drive to start the second half, we made it 28-13. like that. Like, I mean, it was a 4-minute drive. I think it was 8 plays, 75 yards. Are you telling me their defense is playing prevent defense in the first drive of the second half? I doubt it. They want to come out and make a statement. And do you know what the statement was? The Bills aren't done here. We score a touchdown in 4 plays, or 8 plays. I'm sorry, 8 plays. Takes up 4 minutes of the clock. Made it 28-13 with playing time in that game. So don't sit here and say Josh Allen's only throwing touchdown was in garbage time. It was, but he led 2 touchdown drives, and that first one wasn't in garbage time. So don't like when analysts say, "Oh, Josh Allen had touchdown in garbage time." They don't even look at the first drive. They led touchdown. I mean, but we're going to Philip Rivers here. 23 for 27, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns. You have Eckler, who, thank you for Chargers fans, actually. Fox A7, welcome. Glad you can join us. You will be hearing a lot of rants in this episode, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. But still trying to get over that loss from yesterday. It's a little tough to swallow for more reasons than just the play on the field, unfortunately. As I've been saying, the play on the field, I think, has actually improved. I know it's hard to get worse than week 1. But I actually look to see it continue to improve throughout the season. So, but yeah, Philip Rivers went 23 for 27, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, I'll take a bad year for good things in the future, and that's exactly what it looks like it's going to turn into. But I'm not 100% sure how bad this year is going to be yet. Austin Eckler was their leading rusher. He had 11 carries for 77 yards. Melvin Gordon had 9 carries for 28 yards and a touchdown. That's not where he made his biggest impact. I do hope that he is healthy for their next game. He went out late in the 3rd quarter, I believe. So I do hope that he gets healthy and he's able to play in the next game. Philip Rivers had three rush attempts for 5 yards. So that's pretty much the rushing yards for the Los Angeles Chargers. Their leading receiver is Keenan Allen, 6 receptions for 67 yards, which compared to week 1 for Keenan Allen, that's actually shutting him down. That's really good. No touchdowns, 6 for 67. And a lot of those were not against White. It was when they put him in the slot and he was able to beat Edmonds, who, again, I said yesterday in the game, Edmonds definitely needs to work on his coverage downfield. But again, he's only going to get better with time. He's doing really well with the run defense, I feel. Our run defense is actually doing pretty good. Other than Eckler, and the 20-yard run by Melvin Gordon, they really didn't get much. And so that made me happy. But then you had Virgil Green, their tight end, had 3 catches for 55 yards. Terrell Williams had 3 carries for 48 yards. Melvin Gordon had 6 receptions for 38 yards and 2 touchdowns. Michael Williams had 2 receptions for 27 yards and a touchdown. And Eckler also had 3 receptions for 21 yards. So those were the leading receivers. Kicking, Sturgis was 1 for 1 on field goals, 4 for 4 on extra points. Kick returns, Allen had 1 kick return for 25 yards. Their punter, Kaiser, had 5 punts for 233 yards. Punt returns, they had JJ Jones, JJJ. Punt returns, he had 3 of them for 17 yards. Defensively, they got interception from interceptions. There was 2 interceptions. They had 1 from Kaiser White and another one from Adrian Phillips. So you had 2 interceptions. You had a few sacks here. You had Derwin James had a sack. Melvin Ingram, the 3rd, had a sack and a half. And then Jatavius Brown and Uchenna Nwosu both shared in a sack. So thanks, Fox A7. I'll do you proud, man. I'll do you proud. But those are the stats for the LA Chargers. Going over to the Buffalo Bills side of the ball, we had Josh Allen, 18 for 33, 245 yards, a touchdown. Like I said, there's 2 bad interceptions. There's really no way to wrap those up and make it something good. They were just bad interceptions, balls you should not throw. And again, he's going to learn that. And we'll see what happens in the future. I think he will get better. LaShawn McCoy was our leading rusher at 9 carries, 39 yards. Obviously, we all know about LaShawn McCoy. Both starting running backs getting injured in this game. LaShawn McCoy had, I think he had some ligaments in his ribs or something like that. So we want to look out for that for the next game. Josh Allen, 8 carries for 32 yards. Chris Ivory had 2 rushes, 7 yards, and a touchdown. That 1-yard touchdown to start the 3rd quarter. The one that everyone keeps forgetting about when they talk about how bad the Bills look. That one, when the game is 28-6, and we get the ball to start the second half. and the Chargers just apparently let us score that one. That one's the one that he got. And Murphy had 3 carries for 6 yards. Zay Jones had 2 catches for 63 yards. Again, the big one being right before the half. He had like a 60-yard catch. Chris Ivory had 1 catch for 30 yards. Foster had 2 catches for 30 yards. McCoy had 4 for 29. Clay 2 for 29. DeMarco had 1 for 24. Benjamin had 2 for 19 and the touchdown. Thomas had 1 for 7. Marcus Murphy 1 for 7, and Kroom 2 for 7. Hauschka was 2 for 2 on field goals, 2 for 2 for extra points. Marcus Murphy had 2 kick returns for 48 yards. Bajorges had 5 punts for 223 yards, had 2 punts inside the 20. Should have had 3, which is another thing that we'll talk about in this episode. That ball kind of trickled in the end zone, so that's something we need to rant about as well. Marcus Murphy had a punt return for 6 yards. That's about it. Poyer had a forced fumble that was recovered by the Bills, but it was ruled Chargers ball. Something else we can rant about in this game too, because I believe that was picked up by Eddie Yarborough, right? Eddie Yarborough came out of the pile with it. So we have lots to talk about, lots to discuss, but let's start. Let's just start with Vontae Davis, shall we? Vontae Davis came out with a statement today. For those of you who don't know, most of you will know, Vontae Davis decided that at halftime of the game, he just didn't want to play football anymore. You know, he's tired, he's old, and he just doesn't want to play. So you know what? That's fine. That's fine. Quit on your team midway through a game. But I want to read to you the statement that Vontae Davis made after the game. This is Vontae Davis' word-for-word statement that was posted on his Twitter page. This isn't how I pictured retiring from the NFL, but in my 10th NFL season, I've been doing what my body has been programmed to do: get ready to play on game day. I've endured multiple surgeries and played through many different injuries throughout my career, and over the last few weeks, this was the latest physical challenge. But today on the field, reality hit me fast and hard. I shouldn't be out there anymore. I meant no disrespect to my teammates and coaches, but I hold myself to a standard. Mentally, I always expect myself to play at a high level, but physically, I knew today that isn't possible. And I had an honest moment with myself while I was on the field. I just didn't feel right, and I told the coaches I'm not feeling like myself. I also wondered, do I want to keep sacrificing? And truthfully, I do not, because the season is long. And it's more important for me and my family to walk away healthy than to willfully embrace the warrior mentality and limp away too late. This was an overwhelming decision, but I'm at peace with myself and my family. That's as far as I'll go. There's more, but that's all I want to say. And you know what? I'll tell you the truth. I believe everything he said in his statement. I don't believe the people who are saying that he's doing it because the Bills were losing. You know what? The Colts were losing pretty good too 2 years ago, and he stuck it out. So I don't think he's a poor loser. I don't think that he looked at the Bills roster and said, "Oh, this team can't win." I think he's just at this moment in his career had enough. And you know what? With that being said, it's still crap. I mean, midway through a game, so your roster on a Sunday is 49 players, your active roster, and you have a spot. Everyone talks about the health and well-being of players, even the players, right? Even Vontae Davis himself at times have said, we need to make this game safer for the players. And yet you quit halfway through a game, making another player play more downs. I'm not saying he can't do it, but you're risking his health because you don't feel like you can anymore. Midway through a game of week 2, of which, by the way, you had a whole offseason off. You were cut last year, week 4, I believe it was, week 6 maybe. And you didn't think about this then? You were talking about how much you can't wait to get back on the field, and I've been working out, and now I'm ready to play. And now a week and a half in, you retire? You're a bum. You're a bum, all right? You know, what Anquan Boldin did to us last year, that was ridiculous. That was uncalled for. That was kind of a jerk move. But this goes so far beyond that. This is in the middle of a game. I tweeted, while I was at work, like halfway through the day, I said, I wish I could just simply walk out and say I retire halfway through the day and not care about the people who are relying on me to do my job, because that's what he did. That's exactly what you can't wait till the end of the game. Oh, that's right, though. That's right. Who allowed that first touchdown of the game to Mike Williams over the middle? Who was that? Who was on him? Vontae Davis, maybe? Let's go back. Let's look. If you go back and look, you'll see it was Vontae Davis. Like, I'm sorry Mike Williams beats you in a post. I'm sorry. You know, you even go back, their first drive for stopping 3 and out. He actually was credited for the tackle on Melvin Gordon on 3rd down that made it 4th and 1. Melvin Gordon tripped. Like, I'm sorry you're old and you just can't do it anymore. But you were old 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks doesn't make you, like, from all of a sudden a great player to a bad player. That's Fox 87. And that's just the beginning. Like, I have no, you know, Sean McDermott had a press conference today, and he talked about how he has respect for Vontae Davis, and I just couldn't believe it. How can you respect someone that's going to walk out on their team? Forget the fans, even though we have a say in this too. Vontae Davis doesn't know what it's like to be a Bills fan. Vontae Davis doesn't know what it's like to be a Colts fan, where he spent most of his career. He doesn't know. To him, this is a job. And I understand that. It probably should be. The players should not have the players should not be as emotionally invested as some fans are. Just because it probably wouldn't be the healthiest thing. Now, I believe there are some players that are. I think Kyle Williams is just as emotionally invested in the Bills as he is physically invested in the Bills. And think about those players. Think about those players like Kyle Williams, and you can name players for the Bills. You can name players for even Jim Kelly, who didn't start off emotionally invested in the Bills. He got there. And look how much Bills Mafia rallies around Jim Kelly. He was at the game and got a standing ovation. Everyone was so excited to see him. Do you know why? Because he stood for something. Because he played in a city and he fell in love with that city. I mean, what do you stand for, Vontae Davis? And don't say you stand for your family. Do you know why? Because your family won't want to see you quit. Because that's what you did. You quit. So, you know, I don't know you personally. I never will. And at this moment, I'm happy about that. But to quit on your team a week and a half into the season is just ridiculous. And talk about because you're not feeling like it. You know how many times I wake up and don't feel like going to work? Lucky you that you had a job, you privileged brat, that you can just one day decide to retire. At the age of what? 33? You're my age. Lucky you. Hopefully no one ever has to rely on you ever again. Yeah, so now we're with Levi Wallace, Teron, who by the way hurt himself again. Or no, Teron didn't play. But we'll get him back too. Guys, I'm just not happy about that at all. And that's just the first rant, Fox 87. That's just the first rant of many to come. Let's go back into the game. Let's talk about Taywan Jones, who Sean McDermott talked about in the press conference is doing okay, and we're so happy to hear that. McDermott said he had to get a couple stitches. But there's no concussion type symptoms or anything like that. Okay. You're an official in the NFL. That play needs to be blown dead. You need to know. Here we go, talking about player safety again, but yet we'll let someone's head get blown off. Helmet to head hit. You can't even call it helmet to helmet contact. Do you know why? Because Taywan Jones wasn't wearing a helmet, which should have blown the play dead. Blown the play dead the moment it happened. And do you know what happened? The ref just stood there. Said, oh, it's a fumble. I mean, there has to be penalties for that, guys. I get it. We get mad. We get upset about, like, sometimes a pass interference gets called, one doesn't, one does, and we're confused, right, on the rule. This isn't one of those situations. I remember I got into a discussion with a Chargers fan that was on here because 76 for the Chargers, I forget his name, but the left tackle kept jumping off sides. There were 4 plays, 2 of which I believe were touchdowns, where he started early, one of which they called Jerry Hughes for a penalty, which made no sense at all. Even the announcers don't understand it. The announcers didn't know what they were talking about half the time because they didn't understand why the Chargers can down a punt and we can still, or touch a punt to down it and we can still grab it and run with it, and then he thinks it's a Chargers ball. You're being mad. It's funny. Yeah, I'm a funny guy. But you let a guy get hit helmet to head. I mean, and you want to talk about safety? You want to try to talk to me about safety, but you let that happen. Please stop it. Stop trying to talk to me about how, whoa, we're trying to make the game safe. You want to make the game safe? Get rid of Thursday night games. Get rid of games 4 days after they played another game. Let's do that. But we don't. We don't. Do you know why? Because that one makes money. And money is more important than these players' health. And that's been proven on multiple occasions. You know, now we're going to London to play games, and then they get to travel back and play the next week. It was bad enough when you went to London and you at least gave them a bye. We'll talk about wide receivers in a second, Donald. We will. Thanks for your comment. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk about that in a second. And as you can tell, I'm in a talking mood. So, but you're talking about safety. You let players go to London, which has to be like a 1-2 day trip. And I don't even want to talk about the what do you call it? The jet lag. That's what I'm looking for. That goes along with that. And then you play a football game. Oh yeah, and then you come back. That's another 1 or 2 day trip, probably one because it's the NFL, they can afford it. But still, they have the jet lag. Oh, but then you're playing the following week anyway. Let's talk about safety, NFL. Let's talk about it. And tell me how that's safe. Oh, we're cutting practices. You can only have one practice of full pads a week. But if you play on Thursday, you have to cut that to Tuesday or Wednesday. And then get back in the pads Thursday to play the game. Let's talk about safety. Make these rules to protect players. We can't go after a quarterback's legs anymore because it might hurt him because of the Tom Brady rule. And I'm not blaming Tom Brady. He got hurt in that play. I understand it. Can't horse collar anymore because Terrell Owens got hurt. Like, these are rules that should happen. But then you're talking about a guy's helmet falling off and still getting hit in the head? Come on. I just don't buy it. Tom Brady means money for the league. Terrell Owens at that time meant money for the league. People got hurt before with horse collars. If you want to talk about safety, let's talk about safety. Let's be real about it. But if you want to just say it's all about the money, like it really is, then just say that. All right, so Donald, since you brought this up, we'll go next to the wide receiver topic. Here we are. We cut Jeremy Curley. We got rid of we cut Corey Coleman. Yeah, Fox 87. We'll get to Shady. We'll get to Shady too. There's plenty to talk about, guys. There's plenty to talk about. Thank you for joining me. If you have not already subscribe to the channel, like this, share this, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. I'll say that spiel again at the end. Let's talk about the wide receiver position. We get rid of Jeremy Curley, who I'll admit, average receiver at best. I'll admit that. We cut Corey Coleman, which seems to be the right play because so did New England. And now we have Josh Gordon signing with the Patriots. And we have Dez Bryant, who's still out there. So what's going on with the wide receiver position? And I'll tell you what's going on with the wide receiver position. They're not worth it to us. They're not worth it. I mean, we have it's not all on the receivers. And you know what? The coaching staff looks at our young receiving core and says, let them do something. Other than Calvin Benjamin, our receiving core is young. We got Zay Jones, second year. Robert Foster, first year. When he gets in the game, Ray McLeod, first year. When he gets in the game. You know? Andre Holmes is one of those veteran guys. Why we kept Andre Holmes and didn't get rid of him and got rid of Jeremy Curley? I personally think Curley's better than Holmes. I don't know why we didn't get rid of him. But Coleman wasn't worth it. And it was proven because the Patriots got rid of him. So what does that mean about Corey Coleman? Des Bryant, we actually brought him in. He wants to play for a contender and doesn't think the Bills are one. And from the first 2 weeks, he's right. But now he doesn't have a team. And do you want someone like that? Do you want someone who only wants to play for a contender, and then all of a sudden you bring him in, and then Vontae Davis? He'll Vontae Davis us. That's right. I just made that up. Probably someone else did before me, but still. And then where are we? And then where are we? We're sitting here talking about Des Bryant leaving at halftime of a game. So, and we'll find out. We'll find what if Josh Gordon isn't worth it either? What if we got an extra fifth. It's fair to say we got an extra fifth for AJ McCarron. Why don't we use that fifth to go get Josh Gordon? Because that's apparently all it would have taken. But at the same token, we're a little gun shy now because we got Coleman for a seventh, and Coleman turned out to be nothing. So what happens then is Bills fans get on their case when they give up a fifth to get Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon doesn't work out in Buffalo, and he then leaves, and then we're out of fifth. And then we say, oh, well, why'd you sign him? We're not here to win today. Don't you remember the press conference from last year? It's not just about the present, it's about the future. Sean McDermott's going to not do the best move, or Brandon Beane's not going to do the best moves that help us just win now. He's going to look long term. And if you look at this team, how it's set up for next year, we're set up to hopefully win long term. We have about $100 million in cap space next year. We have a rookie quarterback who looked pretty good in his first start. Gordon's with Pats. But I mean, listen. The Pats have a history of making these players who are head cases and turning them into decent players, or at least make them not a head case anymore. But they tried to do it with Corey Coleman. That didn't work out for either team. So, I feel like we're on a stepping stone. Like Fox 87 said a little bit earlier, we're gonna be pretty bad for one season. But if that season leads to bigger and better things, then is it worth it? I think it is. We have a young defensive core. Our role players are retiring at halftime, except for Kyle Williams, because he's the leader of this team. You got young offensive players who are eager, and yes, our offensive line is not the greatest. If you ask Brian Daboll, more than half of the sacks this year so far have not been on the offensive line. Seriously? That's what he said today. Brian Daboll said more than half the sacks are not on the offensive line, which means either one of two things. Either he's blaming our quarterback play or he's blaming himself. Which is fine. You know what? If it's the latter, that's what we want our coaches to do. As us fans bash the offensive line, which by all means, I'm not telling you not to. I think they deserve it. But when us as fans are bashing a side of the ball, the players hear that. And so it's good for the coaches to say, no, that's on me. That's what we want to hear. So that's how I feel about the wide receivers. Let's go to Shady McCoy. LaShawn McCoy got hurt yesterday. I believe it was in the third quarter of that game. He ran to the right side, gained about a yard or two, and then Groy and a Charger player were tussling back and forth as McCoy was falling. When McCoy fell, Groy tripped and fell right on top of McCoy. Well, thank you, Bills fans 1970. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you continue to think that. I'll try to give out great content each week, both post-game of the game from the night before or day before. Pre-game, I'll be pre-gaming the Vikings game, which a lot of people already think we're 16.5-point dogs to start. That's another rant for that show. But yeah, so McCoy got hurt when Groy landed on top of him. He did come back in for one play, and then he just couldn't do it. He motioned over to the sideline again to get him out. Last update on McCoy is that he is going to try to play this Sunday against Minnesota. To what extent, we're unsure. But he is going to try play. Right now, it looks like he avoided. Yay, Morant. Right now, he's they think he avoided getting a fracture, right? So it doesn't look like it's any fractured ribs. It looks like he did something with the ligaments in there, which, to be honest, I didn't know there were ligaments in your ribs. That's how naive I am. But it looks like there were some strains in there. So he's going to try to play through it. But he is listed as day-to-day. So is Ray McLeod. So is Tavon Johnson. And a couple other players who I can't think of right now off the top of my head. But you know what? With this shady situation, the way it is, like, listen, I think LeSean McCoy, we obviously made out great with that deal with Philadelphia, right? We traded Kiko for LeSean McCoy. I think we traded a low-round draft pick for him too, or something like that. And I think we made out like bandits in this trade. However, how have we done since we've had him? We made one playoff appearance, which, in fairness, is more than we made in the last 18 years prior to that. So, LeSean McCoy, I think he's a good player individually. I just don't think he's the greatest when it comes to a team aspect. Think about the drama that LeSean McCoy has surrounded himself with since becoming a Bill. Like, just since he became a Bill, here's the drama that we've had. Year one, the first year we got him, remember that incident in the nightclub? His buddies were getting jumped by the police or something like that, and he came in, and no charges were filed because McCoy's story was probably accurate, or he bought someone off, who knows. But either way, why you put yourself in that situation? I just don't understand that. Then you talk about this most recent situation. And he's done other things too. He's talked trash to players when he had no right or reason to. Last year with the Le'Veon Bell situation, he opened his mouth. Why? Like, it's things like that that just don't matter. He talks and talks and talks about things that he shouldn't be talking about. And now this year with this thing in the offseason with his ex-girlfriend. Like, good player, but he just needs to sometimes keep his mouth shut and just play the game. And this opens the door because I think the starter, if McCoy doesn't start, I think the starter has to be Marcus Murphy. I think Chris Ivory played well in the game against the Chargers. He had a catch for like 25 yards. He had a couple of runs. He had a touchdown. I thought he played well. But he's not a starting back in the NFL. He's a good third down, pound it type guy. But Marcus Murphy might be that guy. And June House, we'd have to play if McCoy can't play, Tewan Jones. Oh wait, if we can, because by the way, he got hit with his helmet off. So that's just the situation as it is. But I think it does set Marcus Murphy pretty well to take over the starting job, and Marcus Murphy might take it and, no pun intended, run with it. Key Ford, yeah, we got Ford still on practice squad, I think, right? Or is he on the active roster? I forget. But yeah, I mean, obviously we have roster spots opening up. So, but another thing I want to talk about during the game, if you watch the game, you'll know what play I'm talking about. There was a punt by Bjorges, or however you say his name, that he landed at about the 7-yard line, and it bounced to about the 5 or 4 yard line. And then Bills players went ahead and watched as it went into the end zone. Yeah, no, you're right, Bills 1970. We need to get the backs more involved, especially when we were only down 28-13 at one point in that game. That midway through the third, there's plenty of time, so we should have used the backs more. We saw LeSean McCoy actually break a 25-yard run on that touchdown drive to start the third quarter, which was obviously his longest run so far this season. And he did, by the way, surpass all those guys I talked about yesterday, and he is now, I think, 6th all-time in Buffalo Bills rushing. So take that for what that is. But yeah, there's a punt. Bjorges nails it inside the 5, and then a bunch of special teams players just watch as it rolls into the end zone, comes out to the 20-yard line. The Los Angeles Chargers then score on that possession. Sean McDermott talked about it a little bit on his press conference, and during the game, if you were with me, you know how mad I got about that play. Like, those are just mental mistakes. But here's the good thing about mental mistakes, whether it be Josh Allen throwing interceptions, special teams guys not covering the ball, things of that nature. Those are fixable. Again, we have a young core of talent. And those are fixable mistakes that we can work on week after week after week. We can get all on the same page, and then we can correct those things. And so as we continue, I think we're going to see a huge improvement between week 1 of the NFL season and week 17 of the NFL season with our Buffalo Bills. This is a young team, guys. We're trying to get it all to work, to mesh well together. And sometimes that takes time. We have to be willing to take the hits. And right now it looks bad. But guess what? It doesn't look any worse than the Arizona Cardinals. I think Arizona Cardinals have 6 points this season so far. Yep. You heard me. 6 points this season. Oh, but they're not the worst team in the NFL. The Bills are. Like, why? Because we're a joke because we start Peterman week 1? That's what makes us a joke? Either Sean McDermott made a bad call, or maybe Peterman had a good preseason, which, by the way, he did. So we gave him a shot. We missed. And by we, I mean the coaching staff. They missed. But you can't really blame them. And I was here saying we should start Peterman week 1. I think a lot of you probably were out here saying the same thing too. So we did. And we were wrong. So. But is that all my rants, guys? Is that all the things I have to rant about? Oh, no. There is one more thing. And it goes back to the officials. When there is a fumble on the play, and there are a pile of players on the ball, and you can't see who recovered the ball, and a Buffalo Bills player, Eddie Yarbrough, comes up with the ball, how can you say it's the Chargers' ball? How can you say it's the Chargers' ball? I mean, you did it. I just want to know how. No one saw what happened in that pile, and I'm not saying a Chargers player didn't have it at one point, but there was obviously a fumble. And as soon as they went, I think I said on here too, as soon as they went to challenge it, I was like, there's no way, there's no way that we're going to win that one. We just can't. We can't. I was okay with Sean McDermott challenging the second fumble. I'm still not sure about that one. As I rewatched it, I still think it was a fumble. I don't think any part of his body was touching the ball by the time he went out of bounds. Who caught that? That was Green. It was Green on the sideline. And the Bills clearly recovered that one. I'm still not sure about that one. But I'll give him a break on that one. But when Williams fumbles the ball and there's a pile on the ball and the Bills players come up with it, I just don't understand how you can say it's Chargers' ball. I just think the officiating was poor yesterday. And again, it's tough for me to say that as an official myself. I think there were a lot of things missed. I'm not saying that the Chargers were not the better team. I truly believe the Chargers were the better team yesterday. And they proved it, and they beat us 31-20. They did blow the whistle on Lorenzo Strip. I actually agreed with that call. Phillip Rivers got twirled by Lorenzo. Like, his momentum stopped, and then he got twirled by Lorenzo before Lorenzo stripped it. I didn't disagree with that call at all. You got to protect the quarterback better than you do Tyron Jones, that's for sure. And it would be interesting if it went the same way for Josh Allen, right? I think mobile quarterback, and I mean that as not as a Bills thing. I mean that as like mobile quarterbacks get a little more leeway, get a little longer. They hold the whistle a little bit longer, like Cam Newton, which I actually don't think that should be a I think I agree with that. Like, if you're a pocket passer, if you're Eli Manning, if you're Tom Brady, if you're Phillip Rivers, when you're in the dirt, you're in the dirt, if that makes sense. Like, when a player has you wrapped up, more than likely, my head immediately goes to Eli Manning and David Tyree in Super Bowl, but more than likely it's a sack. So I'm okay with you blowing the whistle. So we do have to protect players, guys, like we do. But when there is a fumble and a team comes up with it, it should be that team's ball every time. I think the LA Chargers scored on that drive too. So, but I do think overall this team is playing better. I like what I see from this team. Defense played a lot better in the second half. Guys, we won the second half 14-3. We won the second half 14-3. We won the third quarter 7-0. And to me, that wasn't crap time, that third quarter. When we make it 28-13 on the first drive of the third quarter, I don't think they're sitting there saying, okay, let's conserve a 15-point lead, a 2-score game with 11 minutes to go in the third quarter. I don't think they're doing that. So those are things that show me signs of improvement. I want Josh Allen to be able to see the field a little bit better, and I want him to know that when a defensive end or a linebacker has you around your waist like Ingram did, it's either A-okay to throw the ball 100 yards into the stands because he was out of the pocket, or B, take that sack. Those are okay things to do in that situation instead of throwing the interception. Because I think we were getting ready to go into scoring range on that drive too, if I'm not mistaken. So, but end of the day, story is we're 0-2. End of the day, the Chargers won 31-20. That's what the stat sheet's going to say. Chargers outplayed us definitely in the first half. Like Fox 87 said earlier, it was definitely a slow start that got us this loss here. But hopefully we'll keep improving, guys. I mean, we got the schedule isn't getting easier from here. We're at Minnesota next week. So, but I do thank you for joining me. I wanted to get on here before Monday Night Football starts. If you want to catch Monday Night Football and you can't watch it on TV, check out the Sports Fury. They'll have the game for you as the Seattle Seahawks going to Chicago and play the Bears, as Josh would say. So enjoy that game. If you go over there, just tell them Believers Talk sent you. Say hi for me. But we thank you for joining us here on Believers Talk. If you haven't already subscribe, like this video, follow us on Facebook, like us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Always gets confusing for me, guys. I am not a techie person, but I know that I love the Bills. I hope you do too. And I hope you continue to join me here on Believers Talk. But till next time, go Bills.